Hey guys, welcome back to another Canine Performance podcast episode where it is our mission to help you live a better life with your dog. I'm your host, Natalie Dobkins, and for today's podcast episode, I'm going to be discussing parenting your dog. I think that for the majority of us, when it comes to our dogs, we do see ourselves as a parent, and that is because the caretaking and raising of our dogs is quite similar to being a parent. And so that's what I want to discuss today, and how you can go about parenting incorrectly, but perhaps not in the way that you can think of it. And so to kick this off, I do want to cover that I am not trying to promote anthropomorphizing your dog. If you don't know what anthropomorphizing means, it means to give or attribute human personality or form to not human things. So putting our own feelings and emotions onto our dog, and we can do this with a variety of different things. It's not just with our dog. So that is definitely not what I am saying. Dogs and humans are extremely different. Our mental and emotional capacity, extremely different. The way that dogs communicate versus how humans communicate, very different. How each of us process information and just our biological needs are extremely different. So when I say parenting your dog and how there is a right and a wrong way to do that, and maybe in a way that you may not have thought of, I am not saying parenting in a way that we are going to anthropomorphize. What I want you to take away from this episode is going to be the basic fundamental principles of when it comes to parenting, and we're going to take those fundamental principles and those ideas and methods and maybe even techniques of when it comes to parenting human children and apply those things, not our feelings and emotions, and putting it onto our dogs. So like I said, when it comes to parenting, there is a right and a wrong way to do that, and maybe not in the way that you would expect. I am not going to be talking about the different tools that you use, and how you go about parenting in that sense. I am talking about parenting when it comes to a certain age of your dog. Most of the time, whenever I am speaking with individuals, they say that, oh, my dog is my baby, and they have this mental picture of being a parent to the equivalency of a human baby. Now, the reason why that is so detrimental is because if you take that idea and that mindset that you are a parent to the equivalent of a baby, of that infancy, a baby does not have any sort of independent caretaking of themselves. They do not have high enough brain cognition to be able to make decisions, understand consequences, have any form of self-dependency at all. And so when we talk about dogs in terms of babies, that's a very wrong way to be thinking about dogs during that age type. Instead, we should be thinking about our dogs when it comes to parenting about a toddler. That's how the age that we should be thinking of our dogs. And the reason for that is because, for example, toddlers, they require supervision. Our dogs should require supervision. Our dogs are not babies where they cannot handle not being constantly supervised, but they're also not grown adults or teenagers where they require zero supervision at all. They're very much like a toddler. Perhaps you can leave them alone for a little while being unsupervised, but for the most part, you can't be all that overly shocked if you have a toddler. They have access to permanent markers and you come back and they have written all over your walls in permanent ink. It is something that toddlers innately require. And if we are thinking about our dogs in regards to parenting them at a toddler age versus a baby age, toddlers need constant supervision. So do our dogs. Another thing is structure. Toddlers require a huge amount of structure. A toddler without a structured life is going to result in a lot of unbalanced behaviors and a ton of chaos. A toddler that has a very good upbringing, they are going to be told when it is time to eat, when it's time to take a nap, go out and get exercise, go to bed, brush their teeth, take a bath, all of these different things that they need to be able to do. And we as parents need to provide some semblance of structure for them. Another thing is that toddlers require boundaries, and so do our dogs. When it comes to a baby, babies don't require boundaries. They depend on us, and they don't have, high enough, self-sustaining cognitive functioning to be able to care for themselves. And not saying that toddlers necessarily do, but they have more than a baby definitely does. And so these boundaries for our dogs, this means that, just like a toddler wouldn't have unlimited free roam of an entire house where they're able to, go out the front door whenever they please. That's how a toddler can get hit by a car. They can't go into all rooms of the house and rummage through all the different drawers and closets without those healthy boundaries. That's how horrible things can happen to toddlers, where they find, weapons in their parents' closets or in their drawers. Also just boundaries on personal space. At a certain age, toddlers move out of bed from their parents' bed into their own bed because that relationship dynamic changes and it's an inappropriate place for a toddler to be. It's important for our dogs to also have boundaries as well. They don't need to have access to our personal space all the time. Perhaps they don't need to have access to all of our belongings all the time, certain places in the house, certain items in our house, like our couch or our bed or certain rooms, whatever it may be. It's really important to have boundaries for our dog again. Another thing that, happens when a toddler starts to become of age is that they have high enough brain capabilities that they can understand right and wrong. They can start making those different sorts of decisions, and they understand that they have a level of accountability for their actions and that there are going to be consequences to that. And I think that this is the huge thing that a lot of people miss out on when it comes to their dogs, is that we think of them as babies. And no, you wouldn't apply consequences to a baby because they don't understand right and wrong. However, our dogs, they do understand right from wrong, and they can make choices, and they're constantly learning. And so that is something that we need to start teaching the dog first, right from wrong. What are the more desirable behaviors? What are the, less desirable behaviors? And then start teaching them of, if you go against the things that I have taught you not to do, that there are going to be consequences with that, and that we are going to hold them accountable. So when it comes to the rearing of a dog, I don't want you to think of your dog as a baby. I want you to think of your dog as a toddler, because that it was never the question of whether or not you should parent your dog. It was just simply that you chose an inappropriate age for when you should start parenting your dog. So when you start looking at your dog, choose the toddler age and not a baby age. And, that also goes with giving your dog a lot more responsibility, and that responsibility can ultimately lead to a lot more freedoms once they start making those better choices. So, all of these things start to come into play, and it can really help build a better relationship between you and your dog if you can treat them appropriately as per their species, and also applying these basic principles and fundamentals of human child rearing, those fundamentals and principles over to our dogs as well. So a little bit of food for thought if you haven't ever thought about that, about when it comes to parenting your dog, that parent your dog, but just choose the appropriate age to do that. So that's everything that I have for this really short and brief podcast episode. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of something to chew on and kind of think about, but that's all that I have for you. If you have been listening to these podcast episodes and you have enjoyed them, please like, rate, comment, subscribe, whatever it is on whatever platform you use to listen to us on. Give us some feedback. It really helps a lot. You can check us out on Instagram and Facebook, Canine Performance, CANINE_performance. You can also check out our YouTube and our website. We have also been ramping up our virtual training sessions, and you can find all of that to book a virtual training session on our website as well. But thank you guys so much. See you guys in the next one.